Yeah, no, it's really fantastic. Let's come up a level and focus just on innovation in general, right? I've been in the venture capital industry for 24 years. We've been running this innovation center for almost a decade now. And one of the things I've always focused on innovation is the wonderful thing about innovators is they innovate things, but sometimes innovators are innovating things on problems that don't exist. And so one of the things that's wonderful about these kinds of events is you bring together the frontline practitioners from throughout the state who are focused day in and day out on the challenges of rural medicine, and they're bringing their major challenges and most vexing problems to us to allow us to focus our innovation efforts on those things that are most relevant and most pertinent to the rural practitioners in the market. And that's what makes these events so wonderful.
And when you are with these people, what's the energy like with these people from small counties, small towns, far away, who have these sometimes feeling like insurmountable problems?
Mm-hmm. No, it's a great question. I mean, I think one of the things that I want to always highlight also is if you think about the vision and mission for our Center for Health Systems Innovation that we literally focused on from day one, and that is to transform rural and Native American health. And how we do that is through implementing new and innovative care models and IT solutions. So that's kind of our vision and mission, and it has been that for almost a decade now. And as such, we deal with lots of rural providers and frontline practitioners throughout the state of Oklahoma day in and day out. And sometimes when they're in those environments, it's like war to them, right? They're in their foxhole and it's like, oh God, I'm in my foxhole and it's war, right? And the one thing that's nice about bringing everybody together like that, like we're doing here today, is that they can feel that the reality is lots of the challenges that you might see in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, or in Hugo, Oklahoma, or in Stillwell, Oklahoma, or Guyman, Oklahoma, they're all very similar across the state. So one of the things that is always really fun in these events is when you bring people together, I think it's easy for them in their own communities to kind of get siloed and very focused on theirs. And then they come to an event like this, and then they're like, holy cow, a lot of the things we're wrestling with are the same challenges that people are wrestling with throughout the state. So let's all come together. You know, it's kind of like we now can commiserate on these problems together and we can go innovate on them, because the reality is a lot of the problems are very much shared across those. So the energy level is really high because of that, because they come here going, oh, I'm not sure what to experience, and is my stuff relevant to everybody else? What they discover is their challenges are almost identical to what everybody is, and that's an energy boost. And then it's, okay, now we can actually bring together innovators together with them, and we can actually go solve these problems. And if you look at the track record from some of our innovation challenges, many of them started at events just like this and have continued year in and year out and are actually expanding not only within Oklahoma, but even nationwide on some of these innovation ideas that we identified at many of these prior innovation efforts. And there's an energy around that too.
So do you think there's some comfort to them in knowing, in coming here and finding out, oh, the problem in Stillwell is very similar to the problem in Guyman, and even though we're hours apart, if we come together here today, we might be able to come up with a solution? No question,
right? I mean, because there's always this feeling that sometimes you're in a silo and you're by yourself, and in your own community, it's like I said, it's this war. But you come together and you realize that everybody's sharing many of the same challenges, and so there's this, kind of like comfort and familiarity that we're all focusing on many of the same challenges, and that goes really quickly. You'll see it because kind of everybody comes in a little bit with trepidation, and then all of a sudden, very quickly, as they start talking among each other, they realize many of their challenges are the same.
And so there was, during the opening remarks, the 2019 challenge, there was a total of $6,000 for implementation.
Yeah.
And today there's $40,000, which I know, there's a special FIO, 20th anniversary energy about that. But when we're dividing up that $40,000, is that enough money that actually some progress can be made? Can they implement some of these things they'll come up with today?
Oh, for sure. I mean, so let's highlight on the very first point. $6,000 not that long ago, and now 40. We're almost up by a factor of 10. think another few years we'll be up another factor of 10 again, because we're not done. We never stop at the center growing, right? We never get complacent. So let's check in a few more years, and then another 4 more years beyond that will be 10x that. And so then we'll be at 400,000, and then we'll be at 4 million, and like we'll keep going. There's no question. But even if you go look back and look at some of the prior challenges like Walktober and some of these others, with just a modest amount of capital that got those programs started, they're now running year in and year out. And as a venture capitalist, what I've learned over time is the 2 hardest things is sometimes getting that initial capital to get you going and getting a start. Just starting. Sometimes it's some of the hardest things to do, and that little bit of modest capital is usually enough to give them the amount of seed capital they need to get going and force the starting function to get going. And if you look at like some of those programs that we started with just $1,000 many years ago, they're still continuing today. So absolutely, it's less about the money. The money's great, but it's about the forcing function to force them to go do it.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to say before we wrap?
No, I guess the last thing I would say is, and you could add this to some of the beginning stuff, is the one thing I love talking about and why we focus on rural healthcare. So why are we focused on rural healthcare in the first point, right? Or why, in the first place, why are we even focused on rural and Native American health, right? Because the reality is if you look at most of health innovation, et cetera, it's largely focused on urban healthcare. Well, why is that? Well, that's where the people and money are, right? It's why Willie Sutton robbed banks, right? The reason Willie Sutton robbed banks was because that's where the money was, right? So why do most innovators and entrepreneurs focus on urban healthcare? Well, because that's where the people and money are. And consequently, rural medicine gets overlooked, which is unfortunate because the reality is rural healthcare is the largest health disparity in America. We love talking health disparities. North Tulsa, South Tulsa, inner city, suburbia, major metropolitan MSAs and rural. We love talking these health disparities, but the reality is the largest health disparity in America is rural medicine. 20% of America, 75 million Americans live in rural markets dealing with inadequate health care. And there's many reasons for that. And that's what we're excited about at our centers because we're addressing a major unmet healthcare disparity called rural medicine. So it's very much a big untapped market. It's a big unmet need. It aligns with our university here at Oklahoma State University, our land grant university status to focus on all things rural. And so consequently, the combination of what we do at the center that's aligned with the university's land grant mission, and then it's aligned at the state level because the reality is we're still very much a rural state. About a third of our population lives in Tulsa, a third lives in Oklahoma City, and a third lives throughout the rest of the state of Oklahoma. So we're still very much a rural state. So the alignment of what we do at the center aligns with the university and aligns with the state's needs.
You good?
All right.
How was that?